Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. What up? Welcome back to Turf Today, hosted by Adam Kershane and Brian Laurent, coming to you on the Superintendent Network and proudly sponsored by Toro. Today's episode features special guest, Professor Jim Huntoon from Horry Georgetown Technical College in Conway, South Carolina. Jim shares his journey from the daily grind of being a golf course superintendent to shaping the future of the industry as a turfgrass professor. We'll hear about the highs, the hurdles, and everything in between when it comes to being a former golf course superintendent, now in charge of educating the minds of future leaders in our industry. Plus, on our fan-favorite segment, Ask the Agronomist, we feature a great listener question from one of our favorites, Mike Bird. We hope you enjoyed this interview with Jim. He is an educator at heart and a great man. So we really hope you learned something today, get something out of this, share this with your friends. This episode drops April 29th, 2025, and I got to shout out my little man, 4 years old today, which is the same age as Turf Today, only a few months apart, but 4 years old. It's amazing to see you grow. I'm excited to see what's coming next. Turf Today is brought to you by Toro. When it comes to spraying, precision makes all the difference. That's why Toro developed their GPS-guided GeoLink system for their MultiPro 5800 sprayers. The system knows exactly where you've sprayed and where you haven't, automatically turning nozzles on and off as you go. That means no more wasted chemicals or missed spots. Let that sink in, and imagine what you could save with that kind of precision. Visit Toro.com to learn more and see how Toro is always solving and always evolving. Yeah, tough being an Ottawa Senators fan right now, losing two games in overtime to your rival. It's tough, but they're in first place.
That was a home game for you guys last night too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we looked
boy.
at going originally, but the tickets were $400 each. So, you include parking and drinks and food and everything.
Yeah.
Like that could be $1,000 night if you bring your wife or something.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's the same game at home.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
It's a lot cheaper beer.
A lot cheaper, yeah. You get all the good angles and everything. And
Yeah.
it's just hard to stay up. I always find it's tough to stay up this time of year because you're grinding to get the course ready, and you're getting up early, or you're getting back to getting up early, and the games can be late, and then they go into overtime. So you're like, well, I'm gonna sit here for 15 minutes and not fall asleep, waiting for overtime. So I do a little nap.
And they usually clean the ice between the end of the third and start of overtime, don't they?
They do, yeah. They take about a
bring
15-minute intermission, I think. So I usually just have a little nap, and then you wake up for overtime, and you're sitting there all drowsy, hoping the boys score. And they've lost twice like that now, so that's tough.
Brutal. That's one of my favorite things about being out here on the West Coast is it's early.
Yeah, you get all
Those
the early
games are going on. It's early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the West Coast games start at regular times, so you kind of get a few of them. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a bonus. Yeah, we had the NFL draft on at like 4:00 out here. I think first pick came in around 5. It was beautiful.
Nice.
Stay up. It was 9:00 or whatever by the time it all ended.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
That's right. Where are the boys this week for golf?
It's kind of they are in New Orleans for the Zurich.
That's right, New Orleans.
Yeah, it's a team event.
Yes, that's always a fun one.
Yeah, that's a big one, and I think they keep getting a better field each and every year. With last year they had Rory and Shane Lowry ended up winning it. And
that's right. Yeah,
they're back in it. I haven't checked scores or anything to see who's in contention right now, but it's getting a little more hype.
Yeah, I
when these
find that
bigger
happens
names
with the
keep
golf
coming in.
season. Some weekends you're really into it, you're following it, you know who's there, following the course, and then other weekends you're kind of like, where are they? Who's in it? Who's playing? I
Yeah,
don't know. I find it sometimes it's tough to keep up with all of them. Like we were so involved last weekend watching JT and everything. It was so cool to
yeah,
see him pull it off, and then yeah, this weekend I just kind of feel a little bit disconnected from it. But I don't
that's
know.
tough. I mean, that's for these guys too. It's pretty unique to see some of the top guys play so many weeks in a row.
I
I
couldn't
mean, going
imagine.
from
Like
yeah,
it's crazy to think like, oh, I'd love to be a pro golfer and get paid to play golf, but you got to travel and then you play your practice rounds and you walk, your caddy might walk the course or you might walk parts of the course and then you have your four potential rounds every weekend. Like
yeah, yeah,
it's a grind. That's a grind.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm sure those guys are well taken care of, right? Like they're not
yeah.
sleeping
You
in
know
crappy
what?
hotels or anything like
Yeah,
that.
no, no. And at the end of the day, they're playing golf for work. I mean, yes, I'm sure it's taxing. And if you don't play well, you don't make any money. So
Could be
there's always
stressful.
that aspect of it. But, it's, yeah, I think I could suck it up and play, 30 weeks a year or something like that and have to deal with the inconvenience of traveling 4 weeks in a row to go play golf. That's, yeah,
Tough
make
problem
10
to
million,
have.
10 million a year to do it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, no kidding. There's that too. All your
twist
sponsors and
my
everything.
arm, dude. I think I could
Yeah.
handle it.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing, and I make a fraction of
Yeah, that's
that,
right.
right?
You're getting
Yeah,
up early. You're not getting
yeah,
shuttled
no,
to all the courses and everything. You have to drive yourself in your own Porsches and all that.
that's right. Yeah, no, I don't have the net jets dropping me off at the local airport.
So exciting one today. Do you know Jim?
Yeah, no Jim, a little bit. I've known him for a couple years, and great guy. Former superintendent. Got into the education side of it within the last couple years.
Hmm.
Ran across him again. Oh, here he is.
Boom. Look at that. Jumped right in. We weren't talking about you, I promise.
Good morning. Good
How
morning,
are you?
guys. I'm doing great. Doing great.
The true professor with the library in the background.
Yeah.
That was there before I was a professor.
Yeah. I love it.
Um,
How many of those have you actually read, Jim?
well, more than half of them are my wife's.
Okay.
Okay.
She had 17-year career working in a bookstore, so she's much more ferocious and avid reader than I am. But the golf books, this is I have all my turf management collection is in my office at the college, but this is just my home collection. But there's quite a few books on golf there. I'm not going to say I've read every one of them, but there's several that I've read many times too. So it balances out. How's that?
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
the whole mixer set up over there, it looks like.
Not exactly.
No.
No, that's. I do have a whole setup in the office at the college too. That's the Carolinas, like a backup set of equipment that we use when I record. So
Yeah.
nope, this is just the home office stuff here. So, but
Gotcha.
I want
Well,
nothing but the best for you guys and your audio quality. Try to
well,
look
we
out.
appreciate that. We appreciate that, Jim. So let's we'll kick things off. Give us your story.
My name's Jim Huntoon. I'm been in the turf grass industry since about 1998, and currently a professor of golf and sports turf management at Horry Georgetown Technical College, Conway, South Carolina.
So former superintendent, now kind of got into the education side of things. What kind of spurred that move for you to get to go over to Horry Georgetown?
It was something that I thought that I might have the right skill set to be proficient at. It's been a learning curve for sure, but it was interesting to me. Something that I thought about in the past if an opportunity came up at Horry Georgetown to seize it, and it did, and the timing was right, and feel I had a lot of support from my peers and colleagues, and just did it, and it's been fantastic.
Was that the same college that you went to study yourself?
It is, yeah, it is, Adam. I moved down to South Carolina in 1999 to go to school at Horry Georgetown. I'd recently completed a bachelor's degree at Iowa State University in a different field, and started working on golf courses towards the tail end of that. And, wanted to go somewhere and get a 2-year degree. And even back in 99, the internet was strong enough that I found out about Horry Georgetown. I was looking there in Lake City, and just decided that moving to Myrtle Beach from Central Iowa was a good plan at that time, and it's been quite fruitful over the years.
So what was your bachelor's degree?
Community and regional planning. So there are some tie-ins. There definitely are some similarities there, but I wanted to be in landscape architecture. I started in landscape architecture, I should say. I had thoughts of being a golf course architect. Same way a lot of us get into the turf grass world. But
Yep.
I wasn't a strong enough student to be in landscape architecture. I found that out after for a couple of years, and really community and regional planning was interesting to me, but it was also something that I could change my major to and have a lot of the courses count towards that major as well. So, but I feel very fortunate for the time that I was in landscape architecture. A lot of the things that I learned there early on about, art and design and creativity, I utilize today. So maybe it was all part of a master plan. Who knows?
I got a jump start on you. I enrolled at Ohio State as landscape architecture, and same idea, wanted to be a golf course architect. And when I did my visit over the summer, quickly realized how much classwork and math and all that was involved. So I quickly switched to communication. So I got out of it before I even started taking classes. So
It's worked out well too.
it's all worked out, right? You when you reflect on your career, you see how all of the pieces have kind of helped lead you to where you are now, and that's certainly the case for me as well. So talk about, you get your 2-year degree then from Maury Georgetown. What's your next step? Assistant superintendent somewhere?
Yeah, I immediately when I moved down here, I had been down to Myrtle Beach one time to play golf and played Caledonia and True Blue, and had pretty much decided that I wanted to work at either Caledonia or True Blue, and I made that happen. I started there in 1999, right when I started school, and worked there while I was in school. I had an internship at Pinehurst number 8, so I left for that summer. And then when I graduated, yeah, they hired me immediately as second assistant superintendent. I did that for a couple of years and then moved up to assistant, and was there until 2010 when I moved literally to the golf course next door, Heritage Club, as golf course superintendent, and was there for 13 years before I made the change to come up to Maury Georgetown.
Wow. So, any good memories of your time interning at Pinehurst?
Yes. In fact, it's come full circle, you might say, because one of the other interns at the time was my new colleague, Alan Owen, Professor Alan Owen, who's leading our GAP program through the USGA here at Maury Georgetown. So, yes, we had a lot of good memories. The best one, I would say, was it was the year after the 99 US Open, and Pinehurst had some budget cuts because they'd maybe spent too much in 99, and I was told I was only working 40 hours a week when I got there. I was expecting 60. They told me 40 when I got there, and, got off at 3 most days and played golf 5 or 6 days a week that whole summer. That's probably what sticks out to me the most. So, yeah, that was awesome.
That's not a bad place to be when, getting off at 3 o'clock. There's plenty of options there to you. So were you at Caledonia or True Blue?
Mostly
both?
based at Caledonia in school,
Okay.
and during the whole time, but certainly spent a lot of time at True Blue too. I did work over there a little bit, helping from time to time. And, there's 2 separate maintenance facilities, but it's all the same company. And it's kind of very similar to a 36-hole operation, just with different, you don't have that common maintenance facility, but we shared a lot of stuff, and we're a team. So
Was it the architecture of those courses that made you want to go there as, someone thinking of being a golf course architect? I mean, I'm a huge fan of both of those courses. The more Mike Strand's golf courses I play, the more I see the genius and what he was able to do, in this short amount of time designing golf courses. So I was just wondering if that was one of the big draws for you to go to those.
absolutely, it was. I was very awestruck when I first played them, I would say, and had made a big impression on me. And working on them, and that's when Mike was still alive and still around, and being able to spend some time around him was definitely part of the experience and part of the learning process that I had there. I didn't spend a ton of time with Mike while I was there. I actually spent more time with him when he was building Bulls Bay after college. But yeah, I like to think that I'm into architecture as well, for sure. I am. There's no doubt
What
about it.
what was Mike like?
Very giving. Mike started as a turf grass management student, and that's what he got his degree from at Michigan State. He was very good about answering questions and explaining things, and he was very warm. Is another way I would describe Mike. He was very open for conversation.
Did you get to see him riding around on the horse on the course?
I got asked that twice yesterday in
No
class.
way.
Yes, I have. Yeah. And the dogs, everything, the whole, that iconic picture of Mike and Forrest and the dogs on the top of the hill there at Todd Hill Farm. Yeah, that stuff's all real. So,
Legendary.
yes.
So how did being a golf course superintendent, leading your teams at your various golf courses, how did that translate then into teaching students now?
It is very similar. Very similar. In fact, I talk about that a lot. And I think a lot of the skills and techniques that I used over the years to build good teams and motivate people and create a good culture are the same kind of techniques that I use in the classroom now. So I didn't really think about that going in, but the more I think back to how the techniques I used and what I do now, it's very similar, and I teach a class called Turf Business Practices that's really a human resources and communications and business based course for the turf industry. Has made me reflect on that a lot. So I love teaching that class. It's one of the ones I feel most comfortable in because there's different levels of comfort for sure in the different classes I teach. I feel like I've been put back in school, gentlemen. I'll say it like that.
That's fun. Well, you mentioned culture. We talk a lot about that on this show, talk to different people about, how they create culture and how things have changed. What would you say are the biggest aspects of sort of creating that culture at your specific course?
Investment in people. That's really what it comes down to. It's not complicated. It can be difficult. It can be emotionally testing and trying, but the positives outweigh the negatives. I think just learning about the people that you work with, both directly and indirectly, and what their interests are, and showing them the proper respect. I'm a big believer in leading by example, and I think building a good culture is having good relationships with all the different facets outside of the maintenance building too, and I think that goes a long way in building culture. If you're helping other departments, they're probably going to help you and in turn help your direct team. So I kind of tried to focus on that and just build relationships.
I think there's a perception from the industry that there's, it's doom and gloom ahead. Enrollment's down, students don't have the same work ethic, all those kinds of things that you hear on a fairly regular basis. You've got certainly a much different perspective being kind of in there. What are you seeing? What do you think the future looks like for this industry?
I think it's bright. I do. I think it's becoming more and more attractive. Some for the reasons that it's always been attractive, and I think it's some of the other important things like compensation and stress reduction are making it even more enticing today. And I'm excited about the future. I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't. And part of the reason why I did decide to make this jump is I knew there was a need. I knew that in our industry we need to continue to build and try to start from ground zero. That's the big thing. That's kind of one thing that I'm big on is to take action in this. We need to work as a industry and a team to recruit young. We have to start young. If we continue to start young, we'll be fine. Most of us that are in our age bracket started young. We went away from that for a while because of labor sources changed. and they've changed again and gone back. And I think the increase in enrollment around the turf schools in America is reflective of that, because we're relying more on young people to help us and gets them interested. We get them hooked earlier. That's what it's all about. So we have to, if we're not fishing in the pond, we can't really complain about not catching anything.
I'd love that.
That's a
What a
good one.
statement, man.
Jim, do you think things like innovation and technology are helping with, the industry kind of being more attractive to the younger people?
Maybe. I don't think that's a big factor. I think the industry is attractive to young people for the same reason it's always been attractive. It's has a lot of positives to it. It's you're one with nature, and you get to spend a lot of time outside instead of inside. You're creating and providing recreation for people. That's a very rewarding thing to do. It's most people have positive mind frames for the most part when they're playing golf or sports turf. I think the satisfaction of seeing the benefits of your hard work, I think all people enjoy that. I think the team aspect of it is huge. And let's be honest, the places that have great culture and are great places to work, it's fun. It is, and you get to meet a lot of different people and work with a lot of different ages and demographics and different types of people. And, we've got characters everywhere. It's interesting and it's challenging, which I think people love too. And, we have controllable things and uncontrollable things, and certainly teaches you patience over time. I know it has for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you've got a pretty sizable enrollment there at Horry Georgetown. How have you found success in recruiting students? Is there a certain place you've been going to recruit them from? Is there kind of a typical identity of a student that's coming to you these days?
There's several things to break down there, so I might go astray here, Brian. You might have to bring it back.
Love it.
Hey,
let's go down the rabbit hole.
We started student demographics, are varied. And I think this is more so in the 2-year programs, the certificate programs, than it is in the 4-year programs. I think that's a kind of a difference between the different tracks. We have young people that come in, yes, straight out of high school or recently out of high school. I call that bracket number 1. Then I would call bracket number 2 would be ages, 23 to mid 30s. That's a very strong bracket for us as well. And then we have the 35 and older, which is a smaller one, but consistent. We have a 60-year-old student in the program right now, who, he's like an uncle to everybody. He's a lot of fun. But we also have some in their 40s and maybe a couple in the 50s and later 30s. So it's a mixture. Where do they come from? I think they come from our huge alumni base, number one. The program at Horry Georgetown started in 1970. We've been around for a long time. And when I went to school in the 90s, and we had well over 100 students enrolled every year. So there's just a lot of graduates out there. I think that's helped us a lot. We have superintendents that send their children to us. I think that's huge. We have 4 legacies right now in the program, and we've had about 4 or 5 every year that I've been there. I think that's a huge testament to what we're doing. I'm trying to recruit with social media. I'm not so sure that the uptick that we've had in enrollment in the 2.5 years that I've been here has much to do with that. I think it's starting to work. I had a recruiting visit from California last week, and the mother mentioned to me that she loves watching the Instagram stuff, and that she loves that, she's excited about her son coming and seeing what he's doing. So I think that's starting to work. But I also do traditional recruiting, high schools, FFA, any of those type of opportunities. I really enjoy. They're not always as fruitful, but I have had some success. Really on those with the really young people, I'm just trying to get them a job on a golf course. I think if I can start there, that's huge. But sometimes people are very interested in it. But those are the main avenues, and I think our travel-based setup that we do with our students, with our work experience stuff, our internship, and our during the semester work stuff. I visited 100 golf courses last year, and I usually visit about that many. Now it's somewhat deceiving. I mean, there's probably 50 of those are here local in Myrtle Beach, but I still get out and get around and recruit. Talk to people, be seen. I think the superintendents that work with us on our internships too see they get a glimpse into our style of education, which I think is certainly not unique, but I do think we have a different method at times that we're afforded with our location that others can't duplicate. And we get out a lot and talk to the mentors and push them to help us. And they're really the number one reason why our Georgetown Technical College program has been successful is the mentors. They do as much heavy lifting as the professors do.
Turf Today is also brought to you by Flash Weather AI. Stay ahead of severe weather with precision AI technology. Get weather intelligence free for life and try premium weather for a limited time. To gain access, head to Turf Today on Instagram, find our link in bio, and there will be a link to a free trial of Flash Weather AI. To find out more information about their products and what they can do for you, head to flashweather.ai.
Cost-wise, it's very competitive too. I think when you look at what you get out of it and what it costs, even coming out of state, it's got a lot of value to it. So that helps us a lot. We have great facilities. The state of South Carolina is very invested in golf. I don't think that's much of a secret out there. And we're the only technical college in the state that has the program. That's how the state of South Carolina does the technical college system. The specialized programs are just one location. So all the fun we get, all the funding goes to us, and that helps us. It's a lot of things. So I think our reputation helps. My goal is going forward is to produce or do my best to help the students that get out there in the real world to be prepared. I think the better product you're producing in any industry, the better results you're going to have. And I don't lose sight of that.
Talk about the program a little bit, Jim. What are the things you guys are doing? I mean, internship programs, is that kind of considered work study type things? Do they have to do reports when they go on internships? Talk about kind of the makeup and what students can expect when they get there.
All of our students work while in school. Very rarely do we have one that does not. They all work on local golf courses or sports field facilities or in landscaping. So immediate from day one, it's about applied learning in the classroom. And we have a lot of great mentors here in Myrtle Beach. We get knocked a lot, but we have a lot of great mentors in here that have a ton of experience educating students year after year after year. And we're open to work with anyone. And I certainly don't want to say that we don't have a lot of good ones. We do. Some are elite though, as well as in anything. But so that's huge. And yes, and so we connect them with jobs depending on what they want and start there. And then we have a CWE in the second semester, which is just a mini internship to prepare them for the big SCWE, the summer cooperative work experience. That's our internship. It's very academically heavy. I don't really know everyone's system, but the feedback that I get from our students is interns A, B, and C from these other institutions had to write a one-page paper, and that's the only thing they had to do. Ours is intensive. There's a weekly report, or the students are going to do PowerPoints this year that, I want a PowerPoint once a week of what happened that week on the course. It forces them to take pictures, forces them to be observant and aware of what's going on. So that's every week. And then we have 8 reports that we have to do on all the different facets of turfgrass management. So one of those is basically due a week. We do Teams meetings, and Professor Granger and I, we visit. The local ones we visit 3 to 4 times. The out of state or out of area, maybe 2 if we can. And then if it's not within driving distance, we don't visit. But we make the visits and work with the students there. So yeah, that's it. And we have our turf care center at our facility. We have an acre turf care center. We like to call it the Country Club of Granger. That's my colleague. It's his baby. He's the superintendent there. I've demoted myself to about second assistant out there, which is fine. But we have that facility that we use for our labs. We have a Tiff Eagle green. We have another plot green with bent grass and Tiff Eagle, and we have 19 turf grasses out there right now as we speak, right? Wow. That we can go look at and use for lab material, and the students take care of that, and get to be a part of creating everything we do out there. So it's a lot of fun, and I think we have good brick and mortar facilities too. We have two dedicated classrooms that are ours that no one else in the college uses, where we keep all our stuff, and we've got great technology. I love that for presentation reasons. So I put our facilities. I'm very high on them. I think they're very good. I'm not going to say they're better than anybody else's, because I don't know what anybody else has, but I feel I'm proud of them. I love to bring people in and show them. I love the recruiting part. I love when students and their parents come and to check out the college, and it's exciting. It's thrilling. It's can be challenging at times and disappointing, but I really enjoy that. Before I got into this, I had no idea if I was going to like it or not. I was kind of apprehensive about it because it was a big part of the job, but it's kind of turned into one of my favorite parts.
Well, Jim, you were talking about fun with the students there. Doing weekly PowerPoint presentations. I remember my turf grass class that would get out of control. So that you must have some funny memories from doing that with all your students.
Yeah, the students just bring great energy. It's just fun. The path as they grow and change through the semesters is really cool to watch, and we really get to know each other very well towards the end. And it just becomes very familiar towards the end, I would say. And we're pushing really hard right now at the end, and no one's cracking, but we're pushing.
It's a grind, right?
So no, they're awesome. They've given me far more enrichment in my life than I think I can ever give them, and I like to get them excited. And that's one thing a few of my peers have said, that they've noticed the difference since I've been there. It's just getting them excited, right? I love golf. I love sports. I love the turf industry, right? I love getting excited about things, and I do. And I try really hard to focus their attention on the positives of what we're trying to do in this industry. And I try to use innovative techniques to teach and to get their attention.
Well, before we dig too much deeper here, I saw some movement in the background there.
Yeah,
you're hiding your turf dog on us back there.
Yeah, that's George. Yeah, he's
George.
back there.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't notice him. Then all of a sudden he started moving his head. I'm like, wait a minute,
there's a dog there.
Yeah.
There's a dog back there.
He's actually a retired turf dog now that I'm a professor. But yeah, he was with me pretty much daily when I was a superintendent. So it's timed out well for him too. He's gotten a little bit older. I don't know if he quite has the constitution to be at the golf course all day anymore. And I've got another Labrador running around here too. He's probably in the other room on a couch. He might pop in here at any moment, so be ready.
Nice. I love it. Do you take him to the classroom?
I haven't. I just don't know what the policy is on that. I could. George would be very easy to take. He's very well trained around groups of people and in professional situations, just from his time as a golf course dog. My younger one, Gus, I got him after I started at the college. He's pretty young. He might be a little too wild, but George, yeah, he could go. Dogs are very intuitive to body language, and he knows the difference between at home gym and work gym. So yeah, he reacts accordingly. So I probably should bring him. I probably should. He'd love it.
It doesn't look like he'd cause too much trouble. He looks pretty well behaved back there.
He
looks nice and comfy.
He's a good one.
Yeah. So one of the things I really wanted to talk about when I saw you down in Pinehurst for the Carolinas chapter event, you did you had a couple slides on your students talking about employers and really kind of turning the table and what they're looking for. And I think the one slide you put up that really caught my attention, that's really stuck with me, is that the employer gets the employee that they deserve. Talk a little bit about that survey and some of the feedback you got from your students as far as, what their, I guess, outlook or thoughts on employers. Some of your thoughts on what you got from that study.
I like surveying the students and getting to know what they're thinking, and it's a technique I use in a lot of different ways. But I thought when I do speak to industry type things, I mean, I just feel like that's something that I can bring to the table, that I do have the access to. But yeah, a lot of them are into mentoring and finding someone who is going to help them get from point A to point B. I think that's really huge. I think Professor Granger and I work very, very hard on communication skills and soft skills in general. That's big with us. And he was doing that before I got there. And we've really kind of taken it up, I think, another level since I've been there. And just because, a majority, we don't really know if statistically half of these students won't end up in the turf industry, right? They're going to end up in somewhere else, and that just happens. But I want to give them some skills that they can be successful in anything they do. And so part of, I think, that Brian is with that presentation is I'm in that turf business class. I really harp on communications a lot, and big on it. And I think I've kind of created a situation where they expect the industry that they're dealing with to be reciprocal with that. And that's not always the case, so I don't know if I'm creating a monster there a little bit, but it's the reality of it. And, they have expectations, but that also shows me that they're learning and it's making an impact on them, which makes me feel good that I'm having an impact. Compensation is not as important as people think, but I will say communication, right? Make it a priority. So that's what I would advise people out there looking for young people, whether they're interns or assistants or whatever, is make it a priority, and make connections. You've got to give to get. And if you just sit back there and think that your logo on your hat or your sweater or somewhere you've been is going to attract the right person, I think you're not on the right path. Brian, you saw in the presentation, all this recruiting on Twitter is just, all the young people that I've come across in my time are not on Twitter. They don't see that. So, I think I'm a big believer in social media and what it can do to a person's career and to your knowledge base if you use it correctly. And, I think, recruiting young people, you have to be a little braver than sitting back on Twitter or X and posting TurfNet stuff or having somebody repost it for you. That's just my perspective, though.
That's what you're saying. The young guys are on Instagram, so that's maybe if they're using social media, trying to find young people, it's Instagram. Are you seeing still some peer-to-peer interaction though on X?
It appears to me that Instagram's been very favorable to the Turf Today podcast, Adam. That's my take.
Probably just the community, right? There's such a large community on Instagram that loves the turfgrass side of things in our industry. So
there's young people out there on Instagram and we talk about, is Twitter dead? What does that even mean? I mean, it's Twitter or social media is what you make of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. You control the feed, right? If you let your feed control you, but there is a lot of turf based community information, fellowship on the other platforms, Instagram. I'm not really into TikTok or Snapchat. I'm on Snapchat a little bit, but it kind of scares me. It's weird. I don't know how to work it.
You and me both.
And now it's time for another installment of Ask the Agronomist, presented by the Andersons. From tee to green, goal to goal, and shoots to roots, nothing is off limits.
Welcome back to Ask the Agronomist featuring PhD agronomist Ben Pease from the Andersons. Today's question comes in from Harbor Turf Dog _Piglet. Velvet push-up greens built on cranberry bogs. What's your plan of action?
When this question came across this morning, Turf Dog Piglet, I was pleasantly surprised that I think I've been to your golf course, and this was maybe about 15 years ago at this point when I was working on my master's. All my master's research involved velvet bentgrass, of all things, if you can believe that. There's a handful of courses across the continent that use velvet bentgrass. Well, let's go research that. Why not? But it's a great turf. It's my favorite because it's so soft and putts extremely well, but it just hasn't caught on. It does really well in the shade, which is kind of what we were driving at with the research. But as part of my fact finding, we went across the whole Northeast and went to 5 or 6 different courses that used velvet bentgrass to some degree. And I think if you're at Green Harbor, I remember meeting with the owners and talking about the pump system and the cranberry bogs, and I thought it was just amazing. So at the time I was going to school in Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin and one of the Northeast states are the number 1 and number 2 cranberry producing states in the continental US. So another connection there. So it was really interesting to show up to a golf course that used velvet bentgrass and was also a cranberry bog or a former cranberry bog. So Harbor Turf Dog Piglet, reach out. I'd like to reconnect and see if this is where I was when I was a young turflet, so to speak. But velvet push-up greens on cranberry bogs, the velvet greens that I did all my research on were push-up greens. Actually, I built them myself. Now, whether it's velvet or bentgrass or velvet or creeping or colonial, any push-up green probably has a lot of the same issues. We're thinking about drainage, especially in a bog where you're probably below sea level. Drainage is important. Organic matter management, even within the soil. I mean, we can talk about thatch first, but we can also talk about, do we have too much organic matter in the soil itself? 3 to 5% is ideal. If you get, in the high single digits, we've got problems with too much organic matter in the soil. And then we put on top of that, velvet tends to make quite a bit of thatch if it's not overly shaded. So, and a lot of the creeping bentgrasses do as well. So we got to think about thatch management on our push-up greens because it's drainage, organic matter management within the soil system. We're thinking about aerating a couple times a year and doing a heavy sand top dressing to try to create some drainage channels. So if I were walking into some place that had push-up greens, and regardless of what turf was being grown on it, I'm thinking about organic matter. I'm thinking about what am I going to do for cultural practices, meaning aeration or verticutting, things like that. Maybe we got to think about some surfactants too, just to help water move through the system. So we don't need help holding it, but we need that water to keep traveling down and not create issues with disease or just shortened roots. So I think that's a lot of the stuff I think about when I'm working on push-up greens. But my plan of action when it comes to velvet is it really takes me back. I think there's a master's thesis sitting on a bookshelf behind me that only myself and a few others have ever read. So I should probably get a version, a copy of it over to you. And you know much more about the practicalities ins and outs day in and day out of doing velvet bentgrass management. But maybe there's one item from that research, those 3.5 years of research, that is useful to you. But anyone out there using push-up greens, I feel you. There's a lot of intricate planning that goes on with our water management, our nutrient management, and our organic management. So really interesting question. Thanks for the question, and it brought me back. So
it's so cool. It's such a small world, and Piglet and the whole crew over there at Green Harbors, they're big fans and big supporters of Turf Today. So hopefully they reach out and get in touch with you, and you guys can connect on all that.
I think I even have some pictures from my visit out there. So if I can dig those up, I remember standing next to those canals and some of those big pumps and talking to the second or third generation owner or something like that. And yeah, really, really neat property. So glad to help out on this question today.
That's awesome. Well, this has been another installment of Ask the Agronomist featuring Dr. Ben Pease from the Andersons.
I'm big on getting the students involved in industry events. That's huge too. And, you can't make connections if you're not together.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, we find on our side there's a lot of love. Like there are a lot of people that love our industry, and there's a lot of people that are very passionate about what they do, and they love to be able to put it out there. And for us, we just want to showcase it, and we just see that there is a lot of positives. So when you're at a turf shop, there's a lot of positives, a lot of camaraderie. When you're going to turf school, there's a lot of good things going on there. So I think that message is just kind of being put across a lot of these platforms, and we see it on social media every day because there is a lot of hate when you go to different platforms. Sometimes it's golf, sometimes it's different things. You see a lot of hate, and it's not something we've seen a ton of in our industry. And I hope that that's something that continues to stay that way. And I think it's just a testament to how professional, superintendents are, or teachers like yourself, or professors like yourself are. Like there's so much good that comes from what we do and what we talk about. So I think we just got to kind of keep it between the rails there, and it should stay that way, hopefully.
Yeah, I think it will. Who knows? The next thing is out there. It's coming. We don't know what it is, but you have to be adaptable. It's not much different than being a golf course superintendent or a turf grass manager. Adversity will strike, change will happen, and just got to be ready
Oh,
and try
yeah.
to overcome.
Yeah,
So
stuff's always changing.
it's coming. Whatever's next, but I like to try to stay on the forefront. We talk about AI a lot too, and how to utilize it properly, and I think that's not something that's going to go away. So there's no point in denying it. You just got to get involved and try it. It's kind of interesting, especially
Yeah.
from an education standpoint.
It's still very young, right? So there's still a lot to learn there. And yeah, I don't know.
It
Sometimes
is.
I think about it, it's a little scary, to be honest, having young kids and things like that, but we will see.
Makes my job grading a lot more difficult and assessing, and
Couldn't imagine.
we
Yeah,
have to try to be
it's
more
true.
creative in finding out if we really know what we need to know.
Yeah.
So you talked about getting your students involved in events, and you talked about community. And I know you're very involved with the Carolinas chapter. Is that something you push on your students to get involved with the chapter, go to those events, and then also how has the chapter helped support the program?
Yeah, I am very involved with the Carolinas Golf Course Superintendents Association. I was a board member for 4 years plus 4.5 years before I took this job. I had to step down from the board because I wasn't a superintendent anymore, which was fine. But it's an organization that is very important to me. I've been involved with it even before I was on the board as just a member. And even when I was a very young superintendent, I knew no one, or young assistant or student. I always went to all the events, partially, Brian, because I wanted to play the golf courses and I love golf. But I just understood how important it was even back then to meet people. And, I paid my own way on a lot of those. I didn't care. Right. That's one thing I try to stress to young people in the industry too. Don't ever fret about making an investment in yourself. Right. Even not going to events because your employer doesn't pay for them. No, if you're serious about this, you pay for it. Or just like part of your education. That's an investment in your future. That's good. That's money well spent. So I did that, and I just came up through the organization, and we have here in the Carolinas, we have our local chapters too. We have 13 locals. Here in Myrtle Beach, it's the Palmetto Golf Course Superintendents Association, which is a great organization in its own right. And been on the board of that several times. I'm on it again. It's my third stint on that. I like giving back. I like being part of the association. It's given me a lot, so I like to give back and do whatever I can to help push it forward. You don't have to be on the board or anything like that to be impactful in these organizations. But I'm huge with the students going to them. The Carolinas has been very supportive. Tim Krieger, several of the other board members have helped me tremendously. Daryl Ewing, who's our secretary treasurer right now, his son is in the program with us. So, Daryl came on with me. Is a great friend of mine. So, but yeah, Tim and the ladies of the staff up there, Trent Bouts, Alan Knight, all of them are have been influential in helping us here at the program. That's big into bringing the industry into our program. We're kind of unique in that way where we have the ability to do that, and I bring in a lot of guest speakers. I teach 9 different classes over everything, and it's tough for me to not bring in experts because my field of teaching that I have to teach is so broad, and I'm thankful that I've made a lot of great connections over the years, and I utilize those a lot to help me, to help the students, and to bring the industry in and to bring them close to the students. And we have a great career day in October that we do that's supported by some of the best clubs in the country, and a lot of our local clubs are great at supporting that. And we do an education event with the local association. Our students are very involved in the Carolina show in Myrtle Beach in November. Brian, I think you've seen that firsthand.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a big thing. A lot of times I just look at myself as a conduit of information. I collect it from all over the turf industry, and then I distribute it to the students and try to highlight it to them what's important, what I feel is important for them to know, to learn, and what the real experts are saying. I utilize Clemson big time. That's our in-state institution. We use Dr. McCarty's book for the backbone of most of our technical classes. I use a lot of the material out of NC State. They're very forward in their stuff with their Turf Files webpage and the videos, and I use a lot of that. Big into the USGA green section. I use a lot of their materials as well. Big on the Asian Turfgrass Center, Michael Woods. I bring a lot of his stuff in just because there's so much information out there. To me, it's foolish not to utilize it, and that's what I do. I give due credit certainly to who it comes from, but there's more material than ever, and it's out there. I just have to collect it, find it, and then present it to them and show it to them.
It's a full-time job just weeding through all the information that's out there these days. There's just it's everywhere.
It is. Brian, I've used your videos in class, right?
Yeah.
That Dardanix, that's very powerful, man. A lot of our, it's important for people to know in life that redemption is always right there. You just have to go grab it. So I love that one. But that's how I am anyway. I'm always collecting information, and I love reading. And like I said, I feel like I've been put back in school. I had to really push myself for the last 2 years to increase my level of knowledge, just because when I was a superintendent, I felt like I was knowledgeable, but once I got in this chair, boy, I realized real quickly how much I didn't know and how much I'd forgotten. So that's a constant thing with me, is refreshing and finding and researching. But I love all that. So
sounds like you're doing a great job. You're probably in the chair that you're meant to be in. I wanted to ask you, though, do you miss being a superintendent? Is there anything about that job that you kind of wish you had still?
I get asked that a lot. And my normal answer to that is no, I don't really miss it very much, because I enjoy what I do now so much. And I'm so connected to the industry as well. I am still involved at my old golf course a little bit on a small consultation level. So I certainly have a foot in the door still. And I'm just so connected to the industry, and I love what I do now. And, my favorite part about being a superintendent was the team, the crew, and the relationships. And that's been replaced by the students now. And I still have a lot of those other relationships within the industry, but no, I don't miss it. But I'm not sitting here saying that I wouldn't consider going back if the right opportunity came up. I don't plan on doing that right now. I'd love this, but I know I'd be better than I was. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I would do things, a lot of things the same, but I would do some things differently, and I would be better for sure. I'm very confident of that.
What would you do differently? What are some of the things that kind of had your eyes open to that you think you would change?
I would probably be dive into equipment, mowing setup more so. I would have a microscope in my office for sure. I would have probably some sieve analysis stuff for sands, just little things like that that I've picked up and learned. Um, I would say I have a much better knowledge of turfgrass science, plant science now than I did. I think that would help me. Uh, and I think just the overall, there's lots of little things in little situations, Brian, that I could spend hours talking about that I would probably do differently. That the turf business practices class, that human resources, we use that GCSAA book. And then again, here's another organization that we utilize their material. That it's a maroon cover. It's called the Superintendent's Handbook to Human Resources. I would probably do my human resource stuff a little bit different. I felt like I was pretty good at it. And there's a lot of things in that book. When I first read it, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I did that. That does work. But there's other things that, like, you know what? I wasn't very good at that. I should have done that. I would have been better. So it's just little things like that.
So I also want to talk about you guys partnered with the USGA. You mentioned it earlier, the GAP program. Talk about the relationship there between Horry Georgetown and the USGA and the GAP program.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. I'm very thankful that Dr. Jordan Booth called me right after I started here at the college and kind of planted that seed that they really wanted to expand it, and that this was the logical next spot to go. And that was kind of the start of it, and came to fruition. Started in February. Hired, like I said, my former colleague, Alan Owen, who was at Pinehurst for the majority of his career. He started as an apprentice at Royal Birkdale over in England, and went through the apprentice program there, then came over to the Ohio State program here, and we were able to secure him to come onto the team, and which has been fantastic. He's brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to that apprenticeship-based model, and his English wit and humor is kind of nice too. He's brings a little bit of a different vibe. He's a little, it's Professor Granger and I, we're unique individuals in our own right, and he is too, and it's a good balancing. But no, we're excited. Everybody with the USGA has been super supportive of this and great to work with. Dr. Carson Latott, enjoy getting to know him and learning from him, and Matt Pringle's another one that comes to mind with the USGA and just everybody over there. So I love what they do, and I love the way that they have really elevated, I feel like, in the last 10 years. And I like what they're doing, and they're great people. And I love golf, as I've said a few times in here, and they know a thing or two about it, which is great for me.
Have you guys got to play with any of their new tools, the GS3 ball, or, experience any of the Deacon stuff they have going?
Yes, we have. We're going to have that. We don't have it yet. It's on order. We're going to have the whole suite of everything, but we've brought it out. I've used it in tournament volunteering. We'd like to expose our students to it through that. We do a lot of tournament volunteering through our program. But yeah, we're going to have all that. We don't have it at the moment, but we're going to, absolutely. So, and we have a ton of industry support. We have the Greenkeeper app. We're Pace Turf subscribers, and we try to incorporate as much technology as possible. We want to be technology forward in the program. That's a part of our mission.
So you touched upon it a little bit earlier, but what do you think? See how I want to phrase this question. What what can an employer do to make sure they get the right people at their facility? How can they attract these guys to come to their facility?
Housing's big. That's pretty much step one, but I think most clubs understand that, and the ones that can facilitate it do. I think communicating about the learning process and what they're going to do, and following through with that, I think is big. It's such an individual thing. It's hard for me to really pinpoint this is what you can do, and it's about building and learning. And I'm still figuring it out. Let's be honest. I'm still pretty new at this, and I'm at the point right now where we're releasing or graduating students that have been with me the entire time, and I'm
Uh-oh.
A-Plus rewards are back. The Andersons A-Plus rewards program offers turf managers the best opportunity to earn rewards on our newest and most popular products. Qualify with purchases of Contec DG, Fulltech SG, Castaway DG, Goosegrass, Crabgrass Control, and more. Don't miss this opportunity. The average reward for last year's program? More than $250. For a complete list of qualifying products, visit andersonspro.com. Limited time offer available to U.S. customers only.
We lost you, Jim.
We lost your mic.
Oh,
now you're back. Nope, no, you're not. Can you hear me now?
George, you stepping on a cord?
Oh, there. I think we got you back.
I'm still learning about the placement and what works, and I try to be as diplomatic as I can about it. I don't want to over influence students to say, hey, go here or go there. And, some students make decisions that are great decisions without a lot of homework. And then it goes the other way. Some do a lot of homework and the decision doesn't really work out. So it's not easy. And, I read that bit with Tyler Bloom wrote about clubs, what they can do to do a better job at selecting superintendents. And I thought Tyler had some great insight in there. And I wish I could produce a document like that right now that would give some guidelines, but I'm not there yet. I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. And, not everybody's cut out to be at ultra high end facilities or tournament courses either. This is a big industry, and there's very, very good jobs in every sector. Some of the low budget jobs are some of the best jobs a person can have. And, that's another thing I'm big on is, there's a lot more to this than trophy chasing. Okay. And, every part of the industry has highlights but not everybody's cut out for the same path. So you got to find your way.
Yeah, that's good. And just want to follow up on that. How do you help a student identify which path they want to go to? Because like you said, it is very individual and based on their needs. And, there are so many different avenues and so many different types of facilities. How do you help a student find what their path is?
Well, I'd say the first thing I do is I look at what I do a lot as training, right? I'm very big on punctuality. I'm very big on attendance. I'm very big on communications when you're not going to be in class. My expectation is for you to be there. And I kind of treat them like employees, but I feel like it's part of what they need to learn. And it also helps me identify who's got it, right? Who can do this, right? Who can show up every day, right? Who can be on time? Who shows up early? That shows me something. And that doesn't mean the ones that aren't going to be good turfgrass managers. And I'm not, necessarily saying that they're not going to get better. When I was their age, I was probably not someone that I would have looked very favorably on. But, like I said, people grow in different ways, and the light turns on when it turns on. I can, mine kind of turned on when I moved down here. But I do a lot of that, because I want to, I think if you can do those things well, you can do well in a lot of different ways. So I kind of try to evaluate by that. I kind of try to evaluate by their the level of intensity that they want. Their skill set's big too. But, these are young people. And, I kind of talked earlier about the different levels or the different brackets of students. Each bracket is a little bit different in what their needs are and where they're going. So I have to, it's not like I'm working with all 18 to 22-year-olds. I'm working with 18 to 60-year-olds. So it's varied. And, I'm big about, promoting golf here in South Carolina, and if not here in South Carolina, in North Carolina or Georgia, right? That's local here, and it's important to us to try to keep our industry here served with people, and that's part of what we're here for. And especially here in Myrtle Beach too. I'm very big on keeping some of the best talent here in Myrtle Beach because that's important to me, and I'm a big part of the industry here, and we have a large golf industry here that is more than just the college, and that's important to me. Those are some of the things that I like to do. I like to evaluate in a lot of different ways. I like to assess, right? That's one big thing that I've gotten better at is assessing, right? I had a student my first semester, Mark Schmarney, he's in the Mid-Atlantic now, who had a master's degree in education and came back and went to our program to be an assistant. And he made a comment to me one day towards the end of the semester. He's like, I was talking about something that we were doing or that the guys weren't getting it, or he said to me, don't guess, assess, which I guess is a saying in education. I don't know, but I thought about it. I was like, whoa, that's really prophetic. He's right. And I've gotten better at that, So I have certain classes that I pop them with an assessment almost every class, and creates a lot of grading, a lot of time, but it does help me see what's working and what's not. And, what helps give me a little bit of a glimpse into the students. I love making them write. I still believe in writing and English, math. I've heard a very prominent person in our industry who's not a superintendent, say that math skills aren't really important in the industry anymore. I don't agree with that. They are. And so's reading and so's writing, and that's never going away. I like to make the students write too, because I can read and it gives me a glimpse into who they are. So I'm just, again, same techniques that I use with employees. What makes this person tick? What do I have in common with this person? How can we have common ground and create a relationship where we can get through to each other? So, and I don't always figure it out either. I don't. I get fooled daily. And sometimes students surprise me too. And that's something my colleague, that Professor Granger, says over the years is, grade point average does not always indicate success in the turfgrass industry. So, I have a lot of students that maybe aren't into the classroom stuff as much, but you put them out there in the field and they're exceptional. So, it's fun. It's kind of like growing turf. There's a lot of variables, and some things are under control and some are not. And sometimes you're wrong more than you're right, but you never stop trying to help people or to get better at it and help people make those connections. And I'm learning a lot more about the employers on the employer side. I look back at myself and I know I could have probably been a better mentor. I see things. That's another thing that I would do differently, Brian, is I wasn't as good of a mentor as I should have been. I kind of thought in my mind that I was, but I wasn't. And I would do that much differently now. Not to say that I didn't do some things positively, but I would definitely change that. And just, there's some great superintendents that aren't great mentors, and that's fine. There's some superintendents that are maybe not the best superintendents, but they're great mentors. It doesn't always go hand in hand, and everybody's a little different, and conveying information and getting people from point A to point B is not always linear.
Love it. Well, Jim, we can't thank you enough for coming on today. This has been really good. I just wanted to ask you one final question. I might be putting you on the spot here a little bit, but if I was a brand new to the industry, turf, not even a student yet, but just brand new to the industry, I wanted to learn more, what would be the first book that you'd recommend I pick up and read?
I would probably say, first book, I would say, wow. I like Kaminsky and Turgeon's latest version of turfgrass management. I think that I think John's update that he did of that with Dr. Turgeon is really good. It's very organized and not too technical, which I think is good for someone just starting to get in. So I'd probably go with that one. If we're talking pure textbooks, that one, I would say, since you brought up books, I would say as you move on, I think the Turfgrass Maintenance Reduction Handbook by Doug Breed, which is an older book, is awesome. And to me, that's one of the best turf books that ever been written. I love that one. You don't hear people mention that one very often, but I love that book. And, if you really want to learn about turf and the idiosyncrasies of all the different species and learn how to use cultural practices to maintain better turf, I love that book. I love cultural practices too. That's another thing that I would go back. I was very good at a lot of cultural practices, but I would be better now. And from my new perspective, I see how important cultural practices truly are. And no one really sells cultural practices. So it's not something as a superintendent, at least in my perspective, when I was there, that was in my face a lot. But boy, they're really important. So look, George is getting up. He knows how important they are.
Yeah.
He piqued his interest for sure.
But so that is something that I would be better at, and just but yeah, I do love reading. I love A Grammar of Greenkeeping by Dr. Michael Woods. I use that book as well in my intro and turf management 1 classes. It's very simple and basic and complex at times, but the basic part of it makes a lot of sense. And I think it helps root the student in the understanding of the basics of greenkeeping, which are very important.
It's huge. Well, this has been great, Jim. We appreciate your time. Before we let you go, though, is there anything else that you want to talk about here for your episode?
No, I run my mouth for a living, so I don't run out of time to get my voice heard out there. So
your students are gonna love that one. That's excellent.
Well, they hear me say it all the time. So amongst other things, but no, I appreciate y'all having me on. I appreciate what y'all are doing. Ryan, I'm a big supporter of what you do for the industry. Adam, it's great to be with you and be on the podcast. Obviously this is a great opportunity for me to say a few words and get them out there and kind of control my own narrative. I love that. That's one of the best things about today's world is you can write your own story. You don't have to wait for somebody else to write it. Ryan can help you with that too if you want.
Yeah, that's I tell anytime I go and speak to students. That's what I always tell them. Who do you want telling your story? Do you want to be in the guys in the pro shop when someone gets off the course? Do you want to be the members sitting there at the bar post round talking about things? You've got to get in front of it and control the narrative. Be vocal. I think a lot of people get into this business because they don't like being in the spotlight, and unfortunately, that doesn't help us. That doesn't help showcase everything that you all do. It doesn't help tell the truth behind whatever's happening. So yeah, you hit it, man. You tell your story.
That's what, I think that's part of what is helping us too in the industry, getting young people in. It's stuff like what you're doing, Brian, and Adam, what you're doing with your Instagram page and just funneling information and putting it out there and grabbing attention. And like I said, taking it to where their focus is the sharpest. That's the way to get through.
100%.
One of these days, the more we keep doing it, right? The general golfers at some point gonna see it and, oh wow, yeah, that's right. The golf course isn't just ready when I show up. There's actually stuff that has to be done before I get to the driving range. It's amazing.
Yeah. We're in a great position now. People understand what our industry is about, and whatever the facility is, they understand how much impact we have on the overall operation, bottom line, and just overall ethos of everything. And I love that.
Awesome. Beautiful. Well, this has been great, Jim. Really appreciate your time. This is a great episode, and look forward to reconnecting here again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
It was really nice meeting you too, Jim. Hopefully we can connect in person one day.
Sounds good, fellas. Have a good day.
Okay,
All
take
right,
care,
you
Jordan.
too, Jim.
Jim.
Yep.
Take
All
care.
right, see you.
A great guy. A busy guy.
Oh,
My goodness.
fantastic. Yeah, very busy. Very
There's a
busy.
lot going on running a program like that. Those
Yep.
students probably keep them going and keep them motivated too. So that's always fun.
Yeah, what blew my mind, he's visiting 100 golf courses a year. I know he's got a big enrollment. We forgot to ask how many students he has, but I know he's got a lot of kids in that program. And
Mhm.
again, the fact he's visiting 100 golf courses or so a year, I mean, that just tells you how many students he's got out there. So yeah, they're doing good things down there at Georgetown. And it's one of the things, like I mentioned during the podcast, he does a great presentation where he'll talk to superintendents about what his students have to say about their experiences at different places, and what they're looking for their their first job, their second job, or whatever it may be. It's Jim said it's not money. They're not solely focused on money. It's the overall experience and the ability to learn and grow, and have a bit of a life outside of work as well. So there's a lot that goes into it, but it was good to hear from him that the future is bright, because I think we do hear a lot of doom and gloom these days, and clearly there's a lack of a pipeline of what it used to be. But I think there are some very positive signs, and seeing more kids and people in general getting interested in this as a profession. And I think the industry is adapting to the needs of the next generation. And I think the future is bright from all my travels, seeing all the young kids out there. There's some sharp kids getting into this industry. So it's exciting to see.
You're not getting into this industry to become rich, right? You're not chasing
No.
money. That's tough to do, but
Yeah.
if you love this job, there are so many more positives than just making money. Like the most lucrative jobs you have would be the most high stress jobs. You'd have so many people coming after you. It would be tough to be able to just have your own golf course, your own crew, run things the way you want to run it, have your, write your own narrative. Like there's nothing like that, and taking a little bit less money to make sure you're at a place where they're taking care of you and everything is done and taken care of. Like, there's so much to be said for that kind of stuff. So finding that right situation for you is so much more important than just money. So yeah, that's bridging that gap, like what he's doing, and is actually bringing it to their faces and saying, look, you guys need to, have better shops, or, put more onus on insurance, or you have to have better equipment for your guys, or have to have better training. Like all that stuff makes your job and makes your culture so much better. So for him to just go and just lay it on the line and basically be like, these are what the kids are saying. Like, that's huge. We need that. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, he's doing a great job down there. It's a fantastic program. So, it was great episode.
It's just great to know too. Like if your kids are like yourself, your son's going to be going to university, taking programs like this. It's got to be refreshing knowing you have people like that are running the show and teaching your kids what's kind of coming up. It's huge.
Yep, absolutely. It's always refreshing to go in there and talk to these guys that have a passion for what they're doing, in training, preparing these young kids or older adults. Like you said, he's got a 60-year-old in the program. That's
so
insane.
cool.
I know. But yeah, just, having guys like that, we did a visit at Penn State with Dr. Kaminsky, and then obviously sitting here and talking to Jim, just the passion they have for their students and their programs. It's extremely refreshing to see. All right, dude. Well, I'll send that text, let you get off to your meeting, and then maybe be connecting here in 2 hours.
Eventually, yeah.
So,
okay.
All right, bud.
In touch.
Have a good one.
Okay, you too.
See ya.
That's going to do it for us today. Thank you to Toro, the Andersons, Flash Weather AI, all our other sponsors, everybody that's in the community, and everybody that helps this show roll. Be good, everybody. We'll see you next week, and keep those reels sharp.